This is a 7th grade math demonstration for Jessica Parks. And just to give you a little bit of background knowledge on what I would expect my students to know leading up to this lesson is first what a variable is, knowing that it is going to be a letter that represents an unknown number. I would also expect my students to know what equations are and what the standard operations are in math. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and I would expect that they would also know the opposite operations. So addition is the opposite of subtraction, multiplication is the opposite of division. So that's just to give you some information on lessons I would have taught leading up to this point. So let's get started. All right, so today we are going to be looking at one-step equations. So a refresher, one-step equations are going to have an equal sign in them. And we know we're going to have something on the left side and something on the right side of the equal sign. Now, since we're working with our one-step equations, we are going to be solving for a variable. A reminder, a variable is going to be any letter. We often write it as X, it could be A, it could be Y, it could be Z, but it is going to be a letter that represents an unknown number. And then you're also going to have, in a one-step equation, something that is either being added, subtracted, multiplied, or dividing the X, and then it's going to equal a number. So today we are only going to be looking at one-step equations that either have addition or subtraction, and next time we will do a one-step equation where we work with multiplication or division of numbers. So let's get started. We have x plus 7 equals 14 here. Now, in one-step equations, we want to solve for the variable there. It is the unknown number, and the way we solve for that is we try to get the unknown number so that it is all by itself on one side of the equation. So ultimately, we would like our equation to look something like this, where x sits by itself. Notice there's no longer a 7 there, and x is going to equal some number, and we are going to be solving for this today. So up here, we have x plus 7 equals 14. Now, we want to get rid of the 7, and so the way that we get rid of the 7 is we undo the operation. So what I mean by that is, since I know the operation is addition, the way I undo the adding of 7 is I subtract from 7, or subtract 7, you guessed it. So I have x plus 7 minus 7. Well, we know that 7 minus 7 is going to equal 0. So right here we have x plus 0. Now, when we work with one-step equations and solving for the unknown variable, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So equations have to stay balanced. So if I subtract 7 from the left side of the equation, I have to subtract 7 from the right side of the equation also. So we're going to do that. I'm going to bring my equal sign down because we have to keep our equal sign in our equation. And so now I have 14 minus 7, and this is going to help me solve for the right side. So 14 minus 7, you guessed it, that's going to be 7. So we have x plus 0 equals 7. Again, we're still trying to get x by itself. Well, I know anything plus 0 is equal to itself, so I can simplify the left side, so it now just reads x equals 7. So we are trying to solve for x by itself. I told you at the very beginning that we would like for x to be all by itself on the left side of the equation. Have we done that here? We sure have. So I know that x equals 7. Now, what does this mean? This is saying if x is equal to 7, then wherever I see an x in my original equation up here, I can plug in a 7 for it because x is equal to 7. So let me show you how we double check our work. I'm going to rewrite our equation at the top. You'll notice that x equals 7, so I'm now going to plug in a 7 in place for x. So you'll see I have x here. I put 7 there in its spot. And I'm just going to double check that when I plug in a 7 for an x, that it actually solves the equation. So I want to make sure the left side is equal to the right side. So 7 plus 7 equals 14. And I know that 14 equals 14. So we are good. So solving our one-step equation, we got x equals 7. And the way we solve these one-step equations is we get our unknown variable all by itself. And the way we do that is we undo the operation, or we do the opposite operation like we did above. So next time we'll be looking at one-step equations where we work with multiplication and division.